You're listening to Behind the Lines, a podcast presented by inplayLIVE and powered by Pinnacle, the #1 sportsbook where winners play and never get limited. Go to pinnacle.com/inplayLIVE to sign up and get in the game.
Oh, I didn't realize that the NBA All-Star break and the NHL break are aligning.
Yeah.
I'm a bit concerned. I'm already getting like a bit of a withdrawal. I didn't even know that it was aligning. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, hold on.
You're like, oh, Pace, wait, I haven't planned for a vacation.
Wait a minute. Hello, welcome in. It's Behind the Lines, powered by Pinnacle, purifying the sports betting industry. I'm Shane. He's Pace. We got a show for you today. Fighting the books. Super Bowl stage is set. Was the game rigged? And we look back on the NFL season. How did we do? Find out in a little bit. But Pace, first, we were just sort of chatting right before we started rolling here. Astute viewers, people who watch on YouTube on the regular and maybe not listening, might notice that my setup's a little bit different. I've been able to make some adjustments and things like that. And I've got my betting setup all rolled into my podcast setup now. So this is my first episode in this spot. Forgive any kind of technical mistakes that might happen. Hopefully nothing major, but feeling comfortable here.
Shane, I think from my side of things, we're a small production. We don't have a studio. I'm in Vancouver. You're in Toronto. You look like a little bit closer to a studio. You look like the more professional. You look and sound like the more professional of the two of us. But Shane, that's also always been the case.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. I mean, you've got a great setup over there. Everybody has seen your betting setup, which is, superstar setup. In fact, I've even seen people taking images of your setup, Pace. We had a couple texts about that about a week ago or so on social media and using your setup in like their profile pics and things like that. I actually went back and forth with one guy. I'm like, that setup looks awfully familiar. And he was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, I've actually sat at that desk and I know the guy who sits there on the regular.
Right.
And he was like, oh, what? He's like, I just want to aspire to getting a setup like that. I'm using it as inspiration. I was like, great inspiration. I mean, it's a legendary setup.
Did he question the caliber of your being a father?
Oh, no, he didn't. Thankfully, he didn't.
Okay.
And I'll report to that a lot of my threads interactions over the past week since we last chatted about it have been mostly positive. Of course, there's going to be some back and forth with some people out there, with a negative connotation. But I got to say, a lot of my interactions are very positive, even the ones that are argumentative in nature. Very positive. So having a lot of fun on there. If anyone out there is listening and wants to give me a follow on Threads, I'm interacting big time out there. I've even started my own hashtag, Pace. I've got a positive EV hashtag that never existed before as sort of a topic on Threads. And I've got some people posting in there now. So if you guys want to give me a follow, but also use the hashtag positive EV. That's, full word with EV on the end. Great space to have conversations about, what real sharp bettors are doing.
What's interesting about what you said there is the positivity thing. You're like, I'm seeing a lot of positivity out there. I got to toot your horn a little bit, Shane, because I found you. We touched on this on your breaking of 100K episode. I found you. You had already found me through an email where I get a lot of emails, a lot of solicitation and bullshit like that. I think everyone does. I don't think I'm an exception there. But specifically with inplayLIVE, get a lot of B2B type sales stuff. And let's put it this way. It's very easy to distinguish a genuine and heartfelt email from you versus the bullshit that I get on a day-to-day basis. And the reason why I bring it up is because from that moment onward, I've gotten nothing but positivity from you. And you get what you put out there in the world. So when you're a positive and happy guy, does that mean you never get angry? Does that mean you never get, frustrated, disturbed, all that kind of stuff? Of course not. There's an episode at the start of the season where we had a big weekend that you told us about how some issues in your personal life affected your betting and you didn't have a big weekend. Right. But ultimately, when you are someone who sees things in a certain light, it really helps with ignoring the noise that can come in the whole any space. But the online space is so toxic and negative. It really helps to filter that all out and ignore it. So kudos
Yeah.
to you. And if you want a little dose of positivity in your life, go follow Shane on that stupid platform called
Having fun out there. Yeah, you guys want to connect. I'm connecting with a lot of other people who are thinking in sharp ways. So kind of benefiting from that a little bit and getting the conversation
Cool.
going, just sort of shifting it away from a lot of the crap that's out there. So, join me over there. We can chat it up. All right. We're going to get into all things NFL related, because I know that's what people want to hear about. They want to talk about. We're sort of at that moment where it's just like the Super Bowl stage is set and a lot of reaction to the games that took place over the weekend. And we'll get to that in a moment here. But first, I just want to share something very quickly, and we won't spend a lot of time on it, Pace. But there's some sort of I enjoyed this. I'm going to do a quick screen share here for everybody out there that's watching on YouTube. Because I came across this article, and Pace, I love to share news. I'm a big fan of Time Magazine. It kind of it was an early part of my life as a kid. My dad always feeding me Time Magazine articles, and a big part of how I ended up getting into the news business and journalism and all that. But anyway, I came across this, and I thought it was pretty interesting. It's a long read. Anybody out there that's thinking about reading it, prepare yourself. It's like 17 minutes, which is pretty long in today's day and age for news articles. But Time Magazine, the man who took on big tobacco, has a new target: sports betting.
Let's go.
So this guy, let's go, right? This guy's after it. So I'll just give you guys some of the Cole's notes from the article, and maybe you guys want to go read it. But Pace, there's a couple of things in here that I think are pretty interesting that you might be interested in. So this guy is Richard Daner. He's the president of the Public Health Advocacy Institute at Northeastern University's Law School. As the headline suggests, he was a big time lawyer in the fight against big tobacco in the 90s, and now he's going after the books. He actually filed a lawsuit against DraftKings in 2023. That's currently moving through the courts. He went after them for claiming to offer $1,000 to everyone who signed up. And, Pace, as we all know by now, or a lot of us do, and you certainly do, these kinds of bonuses, come with deposit requirements, rollover requirements. And in this case, it was actually like bonus bets that people were getting, not cash. But they made it seem like, hey, sign up, you're going to get $1,000 cash. Right. And that's all part of sort of the false advertising that's sort of taken place over the last several years. Something else, though, that I took away from this is that this guy's actually working on a piece of federal legislation, so for the U.S., but something that would affect the entire country, called the Safe Bet Act. He's working with a New York Democrat on this. They're drafting it, putting it together. It would ban sports gambling advertising during live events. So it would essentially remove all of that from the games that we're watching. It would also stop operators from accepting more than 5 deposits from an individual in a 24-hour period. And it would eliminate the use of AI to track bettors' gambling habits, which would be something pretty interesting too. So that's something they're working on. Now, there's something else in here, Pace, and as I'm going to scroll through it, like I said, it's a nice lengthy article here. You see him as a youngster there. If anybody is interested in reading it, designate some time, like I said. But check this out, this graphic here. How much Americans spent on legal sports betting over the past several years here, 2020 to 2024. And I mean, it's basically gone up by $30 billion a year, averaging about $30 billion increase per year. And I was just thinking, Pace, I think you started IPL in 2020. And, now here we are in 2024. I think I joined IPL, somewhere in this area, halfway through about 2022, summer 2022. But, man, what an increase. How have you sort of seen things change as the amount of money being wagered has changed over the years?
Jeez, what a question. So can I just clarify, like, is money spent money lost, or is that money wagered?
I think that's money wagered.
Okay, but we don't know for sure, right?
It's not clear. They're using that term, money wagered, and they're saying spent. I'm gonna go with money wagered.
Right. Well, I think like
which is right. We can talk about rollover and that kind of
thing. I think there's certain things in this industry that I'm comfortable in saying that I'm an expert in, and I think that question I'm not qualified to answer. I can talk about a few things, but at the same time it really isn't my total area of expertise. We're going to be talking about this in a bit here, but as we get into the Super Bowl, it's obviously the most wagered game of the year in the United States, and there's a lot to unpack there. Now, looking at the stock charts of these same companies where you go, look how much money is being spent on sports betting. Well, they still haven't solved the Rubik's Cube of making money. And, this killer that's out there going, hey, you owe us all $1,000 and you're not allowed to do these things anymore. I think on this podcast, we always sort of have this light of the sports books are bad and they're doing this and that. But at the same time, we're talking about, players using friends accounts or client accounts or beards as they're called, getting arrested. And then, we have this side of it, the other side, throwing the punches and the blows and things like that. And at the end of the day, it all needs to coexist and it all needs to settle in a place where the problem gambler is protected, the winning player is able to play, and the sports books are able to make a fair earnings for their staff and their shareholders. That equation hasn't been solved, and we're far from solving it. And I think that's evidenced in the stock charts for DraftKings being a great example, right? So I think that would be kind of my take on it. As far as people betting and patterns, I think in these last 4 years, I've seen it all. I've seen people that were degenerate gamblers come into our group and pick things up as if they were handed the golden chalice to their life and the keys to the kingdom, and run with it and succeed. I've seen the complete other side of that, where the problem gambling transcends the strategy itself. So if you have a profitable strategy, the gambler behind the strategy will still find a way, ultimately to lose their money or continue or create a problem. I've seen people come into money that never had it before, that their personalities changed. They became different people. They didn't become people that I want to be around. I've seen people blow hundreds of thousands of dollars on garages full of vehicles that now don't have any money anymore. And then I've seen guys like you, Shane, that have come in, bet responsibly, grown their unit sizes. According to this article, Shane, you have spent more, right?
Spent a lot more.
You're spending a lot more in this space.
Sometimes I look at the rollover and I'm just I can't even believe that. To think that I would have bet that much in a day or in a week is just sometimes I'm I would never have even fathomed it, say 2 years ago.
I mean, I've looked at weekends where I'm holy shit. I've wagered 7 figures, with
through the weekend. Yeah. It's insane. Absolutely nuts. And then there's moments too, where it's just you have a lot of money out, right? There can be moments throughout a session where it's holy crap, I've got a lot of money out there in play, and it maybe not all, definitely not all on one wager, but just a lot out there. And it's whoa, I need a few of these to turn to check marks here.
Right. Yeah. And hopefully they do. But I think, just the spending alone, if you take a player that is comfortable with losing a certain amount, I think those amounts naturally increase. So a recreational player that's I bet $50 on a weekend in 2020, is that same player saying I bet $50 on the weekend today? Well, there's a lot there. Spending more includes inflation. Inflation's been off the charts in the last 4 years, right? So there's one aspect of it. The second is your tolerance for loss, your willingness to chase more, your willingness to break your budget. And then the third is guys like us, right? That want to get more money down, that have bankrolls that are larger, that know that the more money you get down equals greater profit in the long term, provided that you're doing it responsibly. Fearless responsibility is what I like to call it. So if you're a fearless sports bettor that's doing it within the confines of your bankroll, you're going to, quote, be spending more, right? And then separately of that, from 2020 to 2024, how many states were legal compared to how many are legal? And naturally, you're going to spend more on regulated sports books when you have more states participating in the study. So they might that might be used to look somewhat grim or make people go look at what's happening with the world, but there's more to it than that when it's spending. If it's losses, it's a different story.
Yeah, but you're right. Spending and thinking about it too. You probably have a few more sharps entering the space over that course of time. Those sharps growing their bankrolls, and that spending increases exponentially at that point, right? When their bankrolls are growing and it really rolling over.
Yeah, and what we're seeing, like one of the biggest things. So if we're talking about 2020 to 2024, and some of the things I've seen, what we're seeing is sports books that had a tolerance for a player to come into their ecosystem and try to win, and giving them a little bit of a leash where you go, this guy's betting 50 or $100, he's up to 5,000 in profit now. We're going to cut him off. What we're seeing more and more now is the player cut off immediately. So zero tolerance or appetite for that player even having a chance at winning or losing. And I think they're really missing the mark there. And this is going to be a topic for another podcast. I hope it can be in the next couple of weeks, Shane. But I'm going to talk about an experience that I've had with a sports book that I think is going to be really shock some people in a positive way.
Wow.
In a positive way.
Ooh, looking forward to that. All
Yeah.
right. Well, in a positive way. All right. Well, that sounds, I'm intrigued. Base.
Yeah. The story will be told. The story will be told no matter what. How it's told is still up and in the air. It's still
all right. We gotta wait for the story to end before we can release it to the masses. Love it. Okay. Let's move on and talk about the Super Bowl. Stage is set. Eagles, Chiefs. But off the top of the show here, we talked about some of my interactions on threads. I can tell you, Pace, today, a lot of it has been focused on the game being rigged, specifically the Bills-Chiefs game. And I think we were going to see this kind of reaction no matter what. I think there might have even been reaction if the Bills had won that game, of it still being like the Bills overcame the refs. The Bills beat the refs and made it to the Super Bowl. Obviously, that's not the discourse that's out there today. Everybody out there talking about, the Chiefs making it back, and everything going against the Bills when it came to calls and all of that. But Pace, I don't know, if I think I was watching the same game as everybody else. I felt like the calls went equally. Flags were flying on both sides against both sides.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. So I think the public desperately wants to see Kansas City lose. Just the masses are now on board with hating them. That isn't. So some people will be like, oh, it's the same as what was with the Patriots. Now, I am biased when we start getting into this discussion. People hated Tom Brady. They hated the New England Patriots. They were a dynasty. Yeah, sure, I get it. This feels different to me. Also, the reason why I'm biased, I'm a big Tom Brady fan. So, maybe I'm not qualified to speak on this either. But I've witnessed some things from Patrick Mahomes in the last couple of seasons. The first being when the Bills beat them in the regular season and they went to shake hands and he started complaining about the officials. I watched that in real time that night, and I had never been so disgusted at a lack of sportsmanship in my life. I had nothing against the Kansas City Chiefs. Absolutely nothing. I'm a huge praiser of Mahomes' talent. Yeah, am I tired of them a little bit? Yeah, sure. But you know what I used to say to people when they complained about the Patriots? I'd say, I feel sorry for you, because every single year just must be torture watching them just fucking keep doing what they're doing every single year. Well, I'm starting to feel that torture now, because I have developed a hate for, I love Andy Reid. I love the Kansas City Chiefs team and everything they're doing. They have been one of the most profitable teams for me in so many different aspects of football since Patrick Mahomes since basically Tyreek Hill was on that team with Andy Reid as the coach. They have been so freaking profitable to me, but the distaste comes specifically, I don't care about the Taylor Swift shit. I don't care about the conspiracies, any of that stuff. It's Patrick Mahomes in that moment with Josh Allen, and it's the flop that he got. Now, the conspiracy stuff has some weight. It really does, because when you go look at all the data, flags for and against and everything, the penalties, you can say, well, they're just a well-coached team. They're not going to be penalized as much, but there's a lot of missed calls. There are on both sides, both teams, any games, any organizations, whatever. But there's some pretty overwhelming data there. Now, as far as the Bills-Chiefs game went, it was noticeable that the Chiefs were not getting the treatment and the flags and the bullshit that they were getting in other games. So I agree with you. I don't think that game was like rigged or overly biased. Now, this is the second time in the playoffs this year where CBS has an angle of a game, and it's the overhead cam. Is it Fox or CBS? John would know. But apparently you're not allowed to share the overhead cam with the NFL when it's a certain broadcast channel on it. We saw the overhead angle. We were able to see it, and he did get a first down. He did.
The first down, yeah. Okay.
That's the one thing there, and it was a major moment in the game. The Chiefs scored a touchdown after that to take the lead. That was a big moment. He simply got the first down. And you can see it from the overhead angle. I don't think the overhead angle is even available online. I don't know if I could get it now, but I saw it. He got the first down.
I agree. I think he got the first down too. I saw that, but here's everything else that I think gets overlooked in that situation where it's like, did he get the first down? Did he not get the first down? Yeah, you see the angle. I think he got the first down. Obviously the refs would have been able to look at it and say, maybe he, have a conversation about it, because it was very close. It's not like he got it by a mile. He got it by, maybe a couple of inches. And the Bills kept putting themselves in that spot. They kept putting themselves in that spot. How many times did they have to go for it on fourth down?
And
you keep putting yourself there.
And then they got the ball. They got the ball down 3. If you tell me Josh Allen has the ball with 2:40 left, down 3 to go win and go to the Super Bowl, you couldn't ask for a better chance in football, and they fucking blew it. They blew it.
They blew it. And that defense didn't come up with big stops for them when they absolutely needed it. One
of the most controversial NFL calls of all time was the Saints-Falcons game with the missed PI call that led to the Falcons beating the Saints. Everyone was up in arms. In fact, it led to a rule change. The next season, pass interference in the NFL, you could challenge. It was the worst rule change ever because they essentially just made every single call stand. It wasted the viewers' time. It was a joke. But that specific call led to the rule being changed. What no one talks about is the Saints got the ball in overtime tied. They got the ball in overtime tied, and they fucking punted the football. And then the Falcons went down and won the game. So this is the thing about sports. Think about basketball. Like, football is all this stuff is going to be so subjective, right? Football is so much more black and white than basketball. If you slow down every single layup, every single play in basketball, there's contact, they touched them, this, that, the other. There's similarities with football, but it's so much more black and white. And people are, this is the thing, everything's snowballed and compounded, where it's like, they're cheating, here's the narrative, and now anything you find that fits that narrative gets blasted online and becomes truth. The Bills had the ball to go win the game. They fucking blew it. Here we are again, Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl.
There we go. And that's exactly it, right? They had their chance. They could have won the game. Kincaid should have caught the ball.
How do you drop?
You got to make that catch.
Second drop of the game.
You got to make that catch. Like they blew it. Like you said, they failed to beat the Chiefs again. And I don't think it was because of a call from the ref on a fourth down after you repeatedly put yourself in fourth down, in inches spots. You're going to have one of those calls go against you at some point. And so anyway, I'm glad you brought up the basketball reference though, because as I'm sort of going through the feed and people are talking about that being rigged, I'm seeing a whole bunch of other people who lost some big parlay, in NBA because DeRozan didn't get a fourth rebound, and they're showing the highlight of DeRozan getting the board, except what they're failing to see is that it was actually tipped to him by a player on his team. And this just feeds into your whole thing there about NBA, you know, being so much grayer and less black and white than the NFL, because you have so many moments in a basketball game like that where it's like, oh, so and so tipped it to him, he didn't actually get the board. You know, and it's like, you could argue that he came away with the ball in that moment, but you know, there's so much that's going to happen. But people want to just grab onto something, latch onto something, put it out there, and claim it's rigged because they lost their bet. You know, and it's just annoying and it's frustrating.
Right now, to play the other hand again, the thing I said about the flags is like a factually correct thing. The Chiefs should be a less penalized team. They're a dynasty. They're the best team in the league. Everyone hates them. They get to be up on the pedestal where they're the well-coached team and they're playing against teams that aren't as well-coached as them. There should be more flags in their direction on that basis alone, but it seems a little fishy there. Now, from the Houston game, we have a rule change next season. So I just mentioned the PI thing with Julio Jones or Saints, whatever it was, Michael Thomas, I can't remember who it was. I mentioned that PI thing. There was a rule change from it. Next year, we're going to have, what do they call it? Instant replay. It's not instant replay. It's replay assist. Replay assist was phenomenal this season. It was such a great addition to football. While the clock is running, not wasting the viewer's time, not some big challenge with commercials. Announcer comes on, they quickly stop the clock. Replay assist has confirmed this was an incomplete pass when they called it complete. They are going to have that now for sliding players. If the player starts going down before the defender, if the player starts going down and the defender has already committed to the tackle, they will be looking at that and picking it up based on replay assist. It's because of what Mahomes did in the game against Houston. So they're making a positive change from it. Unfortunately, it won't be the case in the Super Bowl, but yeah, I mean, that's a positive change in my eyes. They need to add it for face masks, like really, really obvious things. Like a face mask is like there's no gray area. So face masks are a really good one. Hitting a player out of bounds, I didn't realize this. So a lot of people were really pissed off about the flag on Saquon Barkley when he stepped out of bounds. And we have a narrative going, Trampus is a Chiefs fan at inplayLIVE. So he says the Eagles get all the calls. They get all the calls, right? And it's funny when you build the narrative, all you have to do is just say it when it happens. And people are like, oh yeah. Right? That's all you have to do. But with the Saquon one, replay assist came in on that one. I didn't know that they could come in on that. And his foot just barely touched out of bounds. If his foot was up, so we're talking a millisecond earlier, they would have been able to pick the flag up, which is amazing. It removes that makes it black and white. I don't think that flag should have been thrown, but by rule, they couldn't pick it up because his foot had touched down out of bounds, and then he was contacted after that. So more extremely black and white quick reviews in the NFL will be a positive thing where you can't miss a face mask. Josh Allen snuck the football yesterday on 4th and 1. He fumbled the football afterwards and the Chiefs almost recovered it. The Bills ended up getting the first down on this particular play, but his face mask was ripped on the play. I understand why that wasn't called. It was really hard to see, but when we watched the replay, it would be the fastest replay assist. There was a face mask on this call, added 15 yards, boom, done, we move on. And the thing is no one gets upset when you get the call right. So if you are a Chiefs fan in that moment, you see the replay and that you don't go terrible call. You go, oh, yeah, he grabbed it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to deny it. I feel like we lost a bet at some point in the season, Pace, on like the most egregious face.
Yeah, we did.
And I can't remember the game or who it was, but I just remember the moment.
Well, yeah, Shane, thousands of bets behind us, man. Thousands of bets behind us.
Seriously, thousands, and it's not an exaggeration. It's thousands of bets and an untold number of dollars within the community. Very, very likely in the multi-millions. Tens of millions of dollars probably wagered. If you look at the
for sure, tens of
as
millions of dollars wagers
easily. Yeah. But let's talk about that. How did IPL do over the course of the season when it came to football?
Yeah, so 2,918 wagers between NFL preseason, college football, and NFL. Now, This is important.
2,918.
2,918 wagers made.
2918. Got it.
Now, this is an important differentiation that I feel as though inplayLIVE has adopted over the last throughout the last 4 years. And this actually speaks to the conversation that you just had. And I didn't even know that you were going to bring that up. Money spent.
Oh, yeah.
So our average unit on a call that we would make, we would basically call a unit on everything. We wouldn't actually even differentiate. We would just say this is what we were taking. We kind of left it in the user's hand to decide what they wanted to bet. And some negative feedback we received more or less around 16 months ago, I would say, maybe a year and a half-ish ago, was that our wager sizes were now too small because we were calling a lot of quarter units instead of full units. So of those 2,118 wagered calls, the average unit size per call was 0.28 units. So much closer to a quarter unit than a half unit, and certainly much closer to a quarter unit than a full unit. So when it comes to betting and money management and whatever it is that you guys are out there doing, don't let anyone else dictate your success. Let them help you and guide you in your journey, but how much you bet on anything is your decision. If you're not practicing proper money management, it has nothing to do with me. I've taught you what I do, and what you do is ultimately your decision. If you place a bet that I advised you on or anyone else did, you place the wager, and it's only your fault as to whether you wagered a responsible amount or not, and whether or not you had an edge. That's not someone else's responsibility. It just simply is yours. So from my standpoint, sometimes I look back at 2,918 wagers placed in a season. Of course, we still have the Super Bowl pending, with an average unit size of 0.28. You can make an argument that we should have put 2 units on everything because we had a positive ROI on more or less every strategy that we deployed throughout the season. But when it comes to money spent and what we do at inplayLIVE is I don't call a bet that I can't physically take myself. So that means if it's on a sports book that I don't have, I might say, yes, guys, I would take that for this much, but I can't put that on our tracker because I don't have that sports book. And the second thing is I don't make calls that I can't get that unit size in. And right now, as we're recording this, my full unit is about $10,000. So if I can't get $5,000 down on the wager, I will not call it for a half unit. I'll call it for a quarter unit. Now, that doesn't necessarily convert to your bankroll, Shane. You might be able to very easily get a unit in. If your full-size unit is $500, that's probably going to be a little bit more manageable. Take it a step further. If your full-size unit is $50, you never have a concern getting a full unit in. So I would say with the growth from 2020 to 2024, we're calling a lot less full units and a lot more quarter units simply because the people making the calls have 7-figure success stories. So it's not easy to just put $50,000 down on a live wager on, potentially a derative market, right? Like we might not be betting on the Chiefs money line. We might be betting on something a little bit different, right? Yeah. Of those 2,918 wagers, there was 1,581 wins, 1,337 losses. That's a 54.2% win rate. And the average price, so typical pregame is going to assume -110. Well, our average price of our winners was 2.07 or plus 107 for a gain of 100.31 total units. If you were to extrapolate the 0.28 units as full units, which again, some members have the ability to do if your unit size is smaller. And the other side of that is you're never going to get all the bets, but that would translate to 357 units if your quarter unit was a full unit, with an ROI of 12.04%, so double digit ROI, which is just awesome. Now, if we remove the NFL, the numbers are actually going to go up. College football was 14.43% ROI, 1215 wagers made, 685 wins, 530 losses, 56.4% hit rate. And if we remove college football and we just look at the NFL and the NFL preseason, 52.6% win rate, 10.63% ROI. But ultimately about equal. 45 units came from college football and 55 units came from the NFL. And that can sometimes, again, be what I was just saying. NFL is a little bit easier to get money down than college football. College football, the handle isn't quite as high as the NFL. So even though the ROI on college football was higher, the unit distribution was not the same, but close to the same.
Wow, that's really impressive. Okay, so it was just over 100 units total footballs combined.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. And when you do look at it, because a lot of people out there can bet significantly more than a quarter unit on a lot of those calls that you guys are calling for quarter units. And I think, I know myself, Pace, and I don't want to speak for the other pros or people who are coaching within the inplayLIVE community, but I know myself, I tell people with smaller bankrolls, like, bet 1%, when you start and maybe call that your unit size, or, and every time a call comes in, whether it's a quarter unit or a half unit, put down 1% minimum. And if, the guys are like, I'd get a full unit on this, go up to 2.5% of your bankroll, whatever that might be, to really sort of to maximize, because, I do sort of tell people that, hey, these pros, they have way bigger bankrolls and they can't bet that much. And so for you as a smaller bankroll, if you want to grow faster, bet more than the quarter unit being advised.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. But I mean, look, I know that it can be different out there. It can be, different people will approach it in different ways, and some people are more conservative, some are much less conservative. It all depends on who you are and what your risk tolerance is.
Totally. And the thing is zooming out is a powerful tool as a sports bettor. If you're sitting here listening, you might be a member where you're like, what? It wasn't that easy, or it wasn't that good, and if I go month by month, it looks a little different. Right.
Right. Yeah.
There's definitely some tough times throughout the season. September, we had nearly a 20% ROI, and this is just the NFL, not college football. 20% ROI. October, 2.3%. The first 2 weeks were brutal. November, 1.3%. The first 2 weeks were brutal. December, 7.3%. All four positive, but we had our worst day of our history of inplayLIVE, I think, on December 23rd. It was like a negative 5 or 6 unit stream. We've had many positive days above that metric, but it's very rare for us to have multi-unit loss days. And it was just one of those days. It was a bad day. It happens, right? So we talk about, it's still positive. Again, that zoomed out. That ignores that one day that this happened or that happened, and potentially broke someone or broke multiple people. They couldn't survive that one little struggle, that one little wave of challenge and difficulty. It's there is a human element to this stuff. And, I just talked about the different types of characters we've seen come through the group. It takes a real special one to survive and succeed long-term.
Yeah, big time. We were probably recorded a podcast, right after that weekend of taking that really tough day, taking that big loss. And Pace, I know you were really stressed out because you're not only are you eating those losses, but you're calling them out, and you have that extra sort of stress on your shoulders of calling out losers to people, and that's got to be difficult. Yeah,
that morning, that was the same morning I got an email from a book that I crushed in September telling me that they banned and suspended my account and stole the 30,000 in it. So it was it's one of those days, right? And I can look back on that now and go, hey, you know what? That's a part of the old learning curve and a part of the journey. Yep. And if I got to sit here today and you said on that day in December or October or whenever the hell it was, and go, hey, Pace, this is what things are going to look like on January 27th, because that's when we're recording this, 2025. I'd be like, yeah, I can take these blows. I'll be there. I'll be happy, and I'll be ready to rock and roll. On that note, Shane, and this is totally off topic. It's not on our agenda today, but I'm super pumped because I purchased some real estate with some betting profits a few years ago, actually.
Okay.
Well, I shouldn't say a few years ago, because I cut the check on Friday, and a down payment is a lot different than the rest of the payment. But the reason why I bring it up is I am super excited because this was a dream of mine. I would say from 2009 or 2010 onward, unrelated to betting. I always wanted to have a place on the lake in the Okanagan. Always.
Okay.
And I looked at different places, and I remember like coming up with like some schemes and things like that where I could go, hey, you know what? Maybe if we can get a bunch of friends to chip in together. And, at that stage, I'm in my early 20s, and going a bunch of your buddies chipping in for a drinking house on the lake probably wouldn't have ended up being the smartest thing. But at the same time, real estate's done pretty well since then.
It has.
Yeah. But anyways, pulled the trigger a couple of years ago on a pre-sale, and I pick up the keys tomorrow. On Wednesday. I pick up the keys on Wednesday as this is airing. I am so pumped to have been fortunate enough to get a place that is funded through the betting journey, number one. And number two, I get to create a new betting setup. And I'm going to be creating one that is far less obscene is what I'm looking at in my living room right now, that I think will transfer really nicely to someone that has some money to spend, but also, isn't going to do this crazy TV wall type stuff. So I'm going to be rigging that place for betting so I can go there in peace and know that I have an amazing setup while I'm there as well. So if you aren't following me on socials, I'll be telling the story. It's at Pocket Pacer, but also I'm sure there's always stuff at inplayLIVE. So yeah, follow along, and I'm pumped.
Wow, that's fucking awesome, man. Congratulations. That's fucking sick.
Yeah, I didn't take out a mortgage, Shane, so I'm really I'm telling you, it was like, holy fuck.
Oh, wow. Holy shit, that's a big check.
I am
for those who don't know, like, the Okanagan is like this paradise in the interior of British Columbia. It is a beautiful, beautiful area. Canada's only desert, I think. It's got mountains, it's got beautiful lakes. Where exactly are you? Is it like Okanagan Falls?
This is
Penticton. Where are we talking?
So I'll tell you another funny story. So some people from inplayLIVE have heard this before, but one of the events before the event started, I said to everyone, "Hey, come over to my condo and have some drinks." Right? And people are coming from all over the world, so they might not necessarily understand just how expensive it is in Vancouver. Like Vancouver and Toronto are fucked. Yeah. Like it is crazy how expensive shit is. I guess I'm viewed as someone that's successful, like financially successful, and I do okay. I know I do okay. I'm not. I don't stress about money all that often. But in the grand scheme of Vancouver real estate, I am beyond broke. There aren't even words to describe how broke I am. Anyways, this member comes into my condo, and he had a French accent, and he goes, "Andrew, your place is a lot smaller than I thought." And I was like, "Oh," and he's like, "You're a lot bigger than I thought." I'm like, "What the fuck, man?" So anyways, the reason why I bring that up is because you think like, oh, he's got this amazing lake house, in Kelowna. It's in Kelowna, to answer your question.
Gotcha.
He's got this amazing lake house in Kelowna. It's a 1,000 square foot townhome, 2 levels. So it's 2 500 square foot levels. It's going to be quite small. The way I view it is I've bought like a really, really nice elaborate hotel room. And when you think about it that way, then you're not picturing this massive lake, with all the things.
Gotcha. Okay.
But the building in the complex itself has some pretty incredible amenities, including what I would call a boat vending machine, where they literally have boats on machines in the air and drop them in the lake ready for you to use. So it's going to be a really cool setup, like to be able to head out on the lake and then, come back in the day and get on some bets with you guys is going to be awesome.
Oh, love it. So that's where you'll be joining us on the podcast from too throughout the summer and that kind of thing, huh?
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Oh yeah, love it. That's awesome. And you're keeping your play. You're going to still have where you are now.
For now, yeah.
Okay.
We'll see.
You're not doing a full move. You're not doing a full move just yet.
No, God, no. Definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely not.
Gotcha. Wow, that's pretty cool, man. Awesome. And you did it all off of sports betting. That's just incredible. Congrats. Good luck with the move and all of that.
Yeah,
and,
thanks.
Yeah. For people to follow along, Pocket Pacer, and I'm sure you'll post to the inplayLIVE account as well. Now that football's done, basically done, we have the Super Bowl left, but that's just one game. Basketball taking center stage for you? throughout the rest of the season here? First, hold on. I gotta just mention this. I can see it starting to take center stage for you because Pace, you fucking crushed it on college team totals on the weekend, especially on Saturday. I was sitting there going like, Pace is calling these college team totals. I'm like, Pinnacle's got them.
Yeah.
Well, you know, like this, and you're just crushing it, and I'm just like clicking on Pinnacle every time. Boom, Pinnacle got it.
So
like,
you were the one changing my juice.
Yeah, I might have adjusted the juice a tad. I mean, it's not. Well, here's the thing, right? It's like college basketball team totals aren't exactly a huge market, right? Especially depending on the team. And when a book like Pinnacle is going to offer it, I think like it's a no-brainer. Go hit it at Pinnacle. You know, save your account because, you know, any other sports accounts, once you start hitting those and you're winning them, you know, it's a smaller market. You're you know, it's going to lead to limits probably a little bit quicker.
Sure.
So when a book like Pinnacle has it, I mean, it's a no-brainer. And dude, at one point, I think I was adding you up. It was like middle of the day, middle of the afternoon, and I'm like, I think Pace has gotten like 5 wins and maybe only 1 loss, or 6 wins and 1 loss on these college hoops team totals. I'm like, we're crushing it here.
Yeah, I mean, it's I got to give credit to the inplayLIVE guys that helped develop some of those strategies. You know, I just kind of ride their coattails on that stuff. Yeah, as far as focus is shifting, they've shifted, right? Like this is the time of year where everyone is talking about the Super Bowl. People think I'm going to get fucking rich on the Super Bowl because I bet on sports. And it's like, I'd much rather have the slate of an NFL day with 8 games in the morning and, you know, 16 games on in the day. And, you know, a full day of college football. The one NFL game is almost meaningless. Now, you're also going to get fed all this bullshit in the next 2 weeks of, you know, what to take, all these tipsters and whatever. And sure, some of them might be right. Some of them might be wrong. You know, the way betting works is there's 2 sides to something. So someone's always going to be right, kind of thing. And then, you know, you think that you result, you think you should have done what that person said prior to it happening. And then you judge the person that lost based on the loss after it happened. Just ignore all the noise. It's just so meaningless. Whoever's out or in, you know, if it's not Hurts or Mahomes or you know, Saquon, I don't think it's going to impact things all that much. Like people are like, oh my God, the Eagles center's out. They fucking shit kicked the Commanders. Like, you know, just let it all go. Watch the game live, find value live, bet it live, and ignore everything else. Now, it's already shifted. We've been betting hockey since October. I've been betting college basketball for a few weeks, but some people in the group have been betting it since November. This is where we hit our stride for the NHL. We already have hit our stride this season. We are in full stride. NBA, we haven't hit our stride yet this season, but it is around the corner, and we all know it is. College basketball, we hit our stride. You know, and then that leads us into honestly a lower volume time of year, but where we absolutely destroy again, and that's like the CFL. You know, like so. By the time other people start thinking about shifting, we've already shifted, and we're ready to rumble. We're excited for it. Yeah. It's a great time of year. Honestly, I think a lot of people stack profits January through to June beyond any other time of the year. And what's crazy is the people that couldn't handle the loss in November, they're not around for it.
Yeah, which is kind of sad because I definitely fall into that group where it's like January through May, you know, those 5 months are like, this is when we stack. And it's the volume is there, the strats are there, and it's time to go to work, you know, which it actually really works out for being, you know, for living in Canada too, because it's like it's cold outside and like the great weather isn't here yet, so you might as well just sit in your basement and bet on sports and make money. You know, it all sort of works out that way nicely. But this is definitely such an exciting time of year. Really, really love it.
For sure, yeah, it's amazing. And yeah, I'm always pumped this time of year. And I think it is important at the same time. We have just come off of football season, you know, so if you got to unplug, take some time off, whatever, there are some good opportunities to do that. Actually, this Monday for the last basically 4 years is the day I've gone to Hawaii because the Pro Bowl is this Sunday. And I take that week off, and it also always has coincided with the NHL All-Star break. Well, this year is different, and I'm so happy that it's different this year, because the day after the Super Bowl is the first day of the international hockey tournament that they're doing this year. So the NHL is taking like a 11 or something 10-day break, something like that. And what's amazing about it is in those same 10 days is the NBA All-Star break. So we talk about having sports on a lot on this podcast and what's next. Well, it's really nice sometimes to not have sports on, because it allows us to unplug a little bit and to reset. So I'm going to Hawaii for that time this year. Yes, I think there's going to be a lot of money to be made in this international hockey tournament, but we have other pros that can look at that stuff. I'll be missing some key weeks of college basketball, but I am totally okay with it. And it is good to hit that unplug button as well.
Wow, I didn't realize that the NBA All-Star break and the NHL break are aligning.
Yeah.
I'm a bit concerned. I'm already getting like a bit of a withdrawal.
Well,
I didn't even know that it was aligning. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, hold on.
Yeah. You're like, oh, pace, wait, I haven't planned for vacation. I'm
wait a minute.
Yeah. So there's still college basketball on, and in big time college basketball on during this time. But also, Shane, these dates happen to be what has to be something like people talk about conspiracies and Taylor Swift and all this stuff. Well, they align on Valentine's Day.
Oh, wow.
Now where the conspiracy theorists at?
Yeah, right.
Like,
yeah,
I am sorry,
Who's
gentlemen.
pulling the strings out there?
I am sorry, gentlemen. You have no excuse this year. You have got to make sure February 14th, the flowers are in the lap and the full day is planned. Doesn't have to be on Valentine's Day, but yeah. Anyways, the stars have aligned.
Hey, and when you put that time in, it really can pay off on the back end.
Oh, big time.
I'll just say that.
Big time.
And you know what? The college basketball, though, in full swing during that time. And so that gives me something to focus on. I'll definitely make sure I set aside that Valentine's Day time, though, as well. But I mentioned it just a few minutes ago, but Pinnacle offering a lot when it comes to college basketball, especially on the men's side. And I was hitting it there. We have the contest going on, right, Pace? How are entries looking for the Pinnacle Contest?
Oh, I've no idea. I haven't looked into that, but I would say not crazy. I mean, it isn't like our podcast is going out to, we're not speaking to tens of thousands of people right now. Although we do have our most viewed episode of all time, that same guest coming back, Ryan Hammer, to do his preview of college basketball. And that was our most watched episode ever. So maybe when we do that one, the entries will tick up. Go ahead, Shane.
I'm just thinking, like, holy shit, I can't wait, because the trapezoid of excellence is for real. Yeah. Like, that, I can't fucking wait. And anybody out there who's listening, like, mark your calendars for that. I can't. Oh my God, Ryan Hammer, trapezoid of excellence. Go back, watch the previous episode so you understand what we're talking about, because I don't want to spend the episode going over what it is. I want to spend the episode talking about. But who's also, in it and
you
why.
Can, when you go back and watch it now, you can see if what he said came true.
Oh, I already know it did.
Shane, that's a total spoiler alert there. Anyways, so he's going to be back. As for the Pinnacle Contest, all you have to do is join our free Discord and send a screenshot of your entire account with a $10 minimum wager at Pinnacle. You go to pinnacle.com/inplayLIVE to sign up, and that'll get you entered into a $1,000 USD draw that will be added to your account. That draw will be taking place on April 1st. I can also say too now, we're going to be doing the quarterly draws, but we will be doing one of them live at BetBash, and our BetBash booth this year is going to be off the chart. We're going to have games on. We're going to have a whole bunch of things running, tons of contests going, and everything that we buy for BetBash, we can't bring home. So we're going to be doing a big giveaway with the Pinnacle draw at BetBash, and then all the stuff from our booth is going to be given away as well.
Holy shit, that sounds fucking awesome. BetBash is what, beginning of August, middle of August?
Yeah, like that one's a long way away, August 12th.
Yeah. Wow, that'll be incredible, though. That's so cool, so awesome. Looking forward to that and seeing the contest winners as we go along. I mean, it's a big chunk of cash to start off a Pinnacle account, especially if you're sort of newer to the betting space, or your bankroll's not so big. You get $1,000 USD pumped into your Pinnacle account. I mean, fuck, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, a lot of fun here. Next week, Pace, I think we'll be doing a big time Super Bowl episode, and we'll go through some things. We'll have John back to for the gridiron grind one last time to round out the NFL season, and who knows, maybe we'll have some other guests with us from the inplayLIVE community. We'll see. Yeah,
I just want to say one thing with respect to the Super Bowl here. I know the gridiron grind we will do with John, but there's a lot of free money out there because of how big the hype is for this game, guys. So if you are a sports bettor that likes to capitalize on bonuses, you're going to get a lot of boosts, a lot of bonuses, potential free play, all that kind of stuff. And if you're a part of the inplayLIVE ecosystem, you certainly know that you can turn that into cash. There's a whole series of different ways that you can do it that we teach. So take advantage of the opportunities. When I talk about all the noise leading up to Super Bowl, I say ignore it. Be a sponge and soak in all the positive EV opportunities that come your way through these promotions, and you can make yourself a nice little penny where you're sitting there on Super Bowl, everyone's cheering for the Chiefs, or everyone's cheering for the Eagles, or everyone's cheering for Saquon anytime touchdown, and you're sitting there going, I got both sides covered and I'm paid either way. I'm just going to enjoy this game and drink my beer and life's good. So yeah, enter that responsibly.
Yeah, lots of stuff out there to take advantage of. But like I said, we'll talk more about the Super Bowl next week. And John will be back, and we'll see who else. But tons of bonuses out there, Pace. I've already started to see them come through. And if there might be VIP hosts. People might have VIP hosts. This might be the time to start chatting with them.
Totally. On that note, it's not out yet, but it will be out by the time this airs. Our Super Bowl prop pool will be back. For a lot of our viewers, that was a major pool last year. inplayLIVE, it's like our Survivor pool, but it's just one day. You can make some big cash.
It's a lot of fun too.
Yeah, so we will have the detail. Let's put it this way: if you need details for that and you're listening, just DM us on Instagram. But our Super Bowl prop pool will absolutely be back and up and running.
Yeah, big prizes there. All right, well, Pace, I think that's just about it. So to you, sports bettors around the world, till next week. Keep beating those books. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Lines. Remember to like, download, and subscribe. We are on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. Have a betting story or want to be featured on our podcast? Drop a note in the comments below. And if you want to join inplayLIVE, use promo code Behind the Lines.